Hello and welcome to this information session on Candle's AAC City and Guilds qualification. My name is Laura. I'm going to show you through the qualification today. We're going to have a look at the outcomes, we're going to have a look at the levels and the units and the progression throughout the qualification. So hopefully by the end of this session you'll have everything that you need to decide if this is something suitable for one of your students. So first of all, just a little bit of background about us at Candle. So Candle stands for Communication and Learning Enterprises. We are a not-for-profit organisation with a team of specialist AAC teachers and AAC tutors, teaching assistants, resource developers and a specialist speech and language therapist. And our team is growing year on year. We support educational settings with AAC. That's to do with access and also curriculum content. We deliver direct teaching with students that rely on AAC, and we can do that face-to-face or remotely. We deliver training courses and qualifications around AAC also, including AAC City and Guilds qualification, which we'll be talking about today, but also our courses that have been recently accredited with ASDAM. We work with local authorities on education other than at school packages. We provide advice, guidance and support to schools, colleges and other settings. We offer exam access support for those using AAC to help them get through GCSEs and A-levels. We're based in Cumbria, but we do work across the whole of the UK. Okay, so let's have a look at what the AAC City and Guilds qualification is. So it is a qualification specifically designed for students that have little or no natural speech. The qualification itself was written by a speech and language therapist and has been going for a number of years now. The qualification enables students to access more opportunities socially and educationally by developing the student skills in using their AAC equipment and in communicating with others. The skills covered include using their own communication aids to a greater extent, using different components of conversation accurately, advocating for themselves, being able to protest, express their preferences, their needs, their wants, looking after their own AAC equipment, instructing others, giving warnings about danger, giving encouragement to other people, and ultimately developing their confidence in communicating with people that they know already, and also at the later levels of the qualification, they'll also be developing their skills with unknown people too. So they will be developing their confidence in communicating in places that they know, familiar environments, but also places that they don't know so well. So for example, a train station or a coffee shop that might be new to them. So how are we involved? How are we linked with AAC City and Guilds? So we are the registered and approved centre. So we deliver the qualification, we process the awards and certificates on behalf of the students, and we essentially do the assessment for the students that are enrolled in the qualification with us. We have an annual external moderation, so that's where a member of staff from City and Guilds comes in to see us, and we go through all of the evidence together and check that the students are meeting the criteria for the qualification. And at the moment we're the largest provider of this qualification in the UK, and there are not many centres at this moment in time that are able to offer the qualification, and certainly not remotely either. So the qualification encourages students to develop their independence, ask and answer questions, ask for help, use remote communication such as video calls, text messages and emails, encourage other people, get the attention of other people to communicate, protest, develop their confidence, explain or ask for an explanation, take ownership of their device, request, open and close conversations, state choices, and tackle problems. So there are 3 levels to the qualification, and students can start on the level that's most appropriate to them and then can progress through the levels themselves. The level the student accesses initially is considered depending on their current communication level, as we're looking for a level that is challenging but not too challenging. All the levels have the same units, but look at aspects within the units at different depths. So ultimately there are less outcomes at the lower level, which is entry level 2, and then when you progress on to level 3, you've got a lot more outcomes to achieve within each unit. So here are the 3 levels. We've got entry level 2, progressing on to entry level 3, and then progressing on to level 1. At entry level 2, we're expecting students to use single words, pre-stored messages and phrases to communicate. But this is just with known people and familiar environments. When we progress on to entry level 3, we're looking at multiple words, pre-stored messages and phrases. This time we're looking at known and unknown people, but just in familiar environments. And then on to level 1, we're looking at more compound sentences. You're still using pre-stored messages and phrases as well, but students will be expected to communicate with known and unknown people in familiar and unfamiliar environments. There are 6 units in total across all of the levels. The first unit is a mandatory unit, conversation skills, and it is the foundation for the rest of the qualification. The other units are optional, however, students do have to complete a certain number of credits to achieve the qualification. So whilst they are optional, you do need to be assessed on a number of those units to be able to fully complete the qualification. So Unit 1 is conversation skills, Unit 2 is about directing others, Unit 3, asserting independence, Unit 4, remote communication, Unit 5, dealing with problems in daily life, and Unit 6, organising your own AAC equipment. We will look at those units in a little bit more detail later on in the session, but first of all, we have Ollie who's got a video message for us.
AAC course is great. I have learned how to speak to unknown people more independently. And Maria has given me lots of fun games and activities to help build my skills. They've also been fun to use in class to help me get to know people, especially because it is a new class. The lessons are really fun. They show us how to work Gregory. In some of the lessons we have done Teams calls, which have been a great way to get to know other characters, staff and students, and to make some new AAC friends.
Okay, so let's have a look at the units in a little bit more detail. So Unit 1, Conversation Skills, is a mandatory unit and it's worth 4 credits in total. This is the essential unit as it provides the foundation to conversation, and other units build on this one. So the kind of things that students will learn will be how to get someone's attention so they can start a conversation, how to start and end a conversation, different tools to keep a conversation going, such as making a comment, asking a question, or answering a question, how to talk about a range of topics and also change topics within a conversation, how to fix or repair a conversation when someone doesn't hear them or understand their message. And some example outcomes at entry level 2 will be to start a conversation with a comment, ask for help to repair a conversation with somebody else. At entry 3, they might start a conversation by asking a question. They might repair a conversation through repeating a message. And at level 1, they'll be starting a conversation choosing an appropriate topic, request clarification when repairing a conversation with somebody. So it develops in complexity across the levels. So on to Unit 2, we're looking at directing others. This one is one of the optional units. It's 4 credits in total, and it encourages students to direct others to gain their wants and needs, or for other purposes as well. So students will learn how to tell other people what or how to do something, effectively communicate their needs and choices, meaning they can get what they want or get what they need from somebody else, giving somebody some instructions, warning somebody of danger, encouraging someone, such as wishing them good luck. And some example outcomes are at entry 2, state a choice, at entry level 3, state a choice and also give instructions, and at level 1, things like making a suggestion and giving instructions to plan an event. On to Unit 3, that's all about asserting independence. Again, it's an optional unit and it's worth 4 credits in total. So it's a unit that encourages students to share their feelings, their ideas and their preferences with others. The types of things that students will learn include how to express opinions on things, how to express their feelings, being able to disagree with somebody politely, how to argue and to make a complaint, and some example outcomes at entry level 2, express a preference, disagree with another person. At entry level 3, express intent to do something, also make a complaint. And at level 1, express intent but be able to negotiate with somebody. Unit 4 is all about remote communication. So that's thinking about using text messages, emails, or video calls. So it's communication other than face-to-face. It's, again, an optional unit, but a lot of students really enjoy this unit in the qualification. It's worth 4 credits in total. And as I've said, it's about you possibly using the telephone, email, direct messaging, etc. So the things that students will learn is what remote communication is initially, and how to communicate through these methods as they are different to face-to-face conversations. Use remote communications to make arrangements with other people, and get information from someone else when using remote communication. And some example outcomes include entry 2, initiate a conversation and make a simple arrangement with somebody. Maintain a conversation with them remotely, record or remember an arrangement at entry 3. And at level 1, maintain a conversation, request information about an arrangement that's already been made. So on to Unit 5. This is a unit all about problem solving in daily life. It's an optional unit and it's only worth 2 credits, this unit, because for most of the outcomes you need 2 pieces of evidence. For this particular unit you actually only need 1 piece of evidence throughout this unit. So it's a unit focusing on simple everyday problems, and the idea is that you would collect all of these outcomes in throughout one problem or one situation. So it helps students become more independent and know what to do when they encounter a problem in their everyday lives. So a problem in an everyday life might be something like they've run out of milk, or you can't find a shop assistant in the shop, for example. So students will learn how to spot a problem in their own everyday life, think of different ways to solve the problem, direct someone to help them to solve the problem, and at level 1 they'll be looking at reviewing what they did and checking what went well. And then example outcomes would be entry 2, identify a problem and tackle a problem with a given procedure by somebody else. Entry level 3, sharing ideas on how to tackle the problem, carry out the activities themselves to tackle that problem themselves. And then at level 1, identifying what resources they might need to tackle a problem. And then after the problem has been solved, decide, was it solved effectively? If not, what could they do next time? So Unit 6 is about organising their own AAC equipment. So this is quite a personal unit to the student and would be different depending on the student's type of communication, what AAC systems they use, etc. So this is an optional unit again, and 2 credits in total. And students will learn to recognise their own AAC devices, take responsibility for their own equipment, think about ways in which to make the equipment better for them, direct others to add on vocabulary, or if they're able to, add the vocabulary on themselves, know if their device is what we call user ready, and if it's not, what is needed for it to be user ready. So some examples would be at entry 2, recognise that aid is user ready and being able to request some new vocabulary to be added. At entry 3, placing the vocabulary in the correct location or telling somebody where it needs to go, alert someone to a problem with their own AAC equipment. And at level 1, taking responsibility for looking after and maintaining their own equipment, organising their own equipment for a specific purpose. Okay, so that covers all of the units across all of the levels. Let's now have a look at evidence collection and assessment. So evidence is only recorded through witness statements. There are no tests or specific required activities that students need to complete. It's all through observation of communication that's happening in daily life. So adults supporting the students need to write up a witness conversation demonstrating specific outcomes. And it's worth saying at this point that during the qualification, we do need a lot of input from those adults supporting the student. So they are the ones that will be collecting the evidence to send in to us for assessment. So it's maybe need to be mindful that it is a lot of work for supporting adults who are supporting students on the qualification. So witness statements are written by the observer, detailing the context, what the student said and what was said to them in return. And there's a list of outcomes that all students must be assessed against for each unit, and that's available. We have a tracker format for that, which is an Excel spreadsheet, so that we can see the progress that the student is making across the qualification. So you can use videos and photographs, and sometimes that's nice for us as assessors to see that, but it's not essential, and each video or each photograph does need to still be accompanied by a witness statement that describes the context of the conversation, what's happening that we can't see in the picture or the video. For most outcomes, 2 witness statements are needed, so those are your 2 different pieces of evidence. And we suggest that they take place on different days, that they are in different situations, maybe with different people, just so that we can ensure that the student has got that skill across a breadth of different situations. And each piece is assessed by a candle assessor. We internally verify the evidence between ourselves, between the assessors, and then we get an annual external verification from City and Guilds also, who will look through all the evidence again and check that the assessors are making the right decisions for the evidence. So this is a screenshot of part of the evidence tracker. So this is for entry level 2. I can see that as it's got Unit 201 to Unit 206. So this is the information sheet at the beginning, and as you can see, this student has completed 88% of Unit 1 and, for example, 50% of Unit 4. So this calculates the percentage, and it's quite easy to see at a glance how the student is progressing. This is an example of a tracker at level 1. I know that because of the number 4 at the beginning of the units. So this is 401, so this is level 1, unit 1. And as you can see here, I can see that the student has submitted evidence around introducing themselves and also choosing a social conversation, and it has been assessed and approved, and I can see that from the green boxes. So that is the tracker that shows you where we're up to in terms of evidence collection. And if you enrol a student on the course, you'll get access to this so that you can see which outcomes we need to work on next, and also which pieces of evidence have been assessed and have been approved. So we have different packages of support for students who would like to do the qualification with us. There are a number of different things that you get depending on the package, and also the cost varies, and you'll see why in a second. So package 3, that's the basic package, that's the cheapest one, and that includes the qualification registration with City and Guilds, assessment by candle for all of the evidence, all certificates and qualification administration is done by us. You get access to lesson plans, the trackers and any resources. You get an initial training session for supporting adults by us, and what that means is that the supporting adults know how to deliver the qualification to them, and they also are able to know what we're looking for in terms of assessment. We'll provide all templates for you for witness statement collection as well. So you also get an initial assessment with the student to decide which level of the qualification they might start with. And you'll also get a designated candle assessor, her point of contact, so that's usually one of our specialist teachers or our AAC tutors, and they will be on hand for any questions and queries as the student goes through the qualification. And within that, they will liaise with you to have termly progress meetings where you'll look at how is the student doing, what are the barriers, and it gives an opportunity for conversation on how we can support the student any further. So package 3 is the basic package to access the qualification and to have the assessment. The delivery would be done by supporting adults, so that might be a school, so you might have a class of students on this, then you might decide that package 3 is the best for the school because you can deliver the sessions yourself. Or if the student is individual, working at home possibly, and they have a tutor going in to support them, then package 3 might be useful because the tutor can deliver the lessons and the lesson plans, and we would do all the assessment and all of the qualification administration as well. So the next package is package 2, so you get everything in package 3, and you also get access to an online platform for sharing evidence. So that's a paid for platform that you would get access to, which means that you can type your evidence in online, and we can see it, and you don't need to print out templates and handwrite them and then scan them and email in. So it's just a little bit easier for people to be able to send in their evidence. And then package 1, that is the top level package, so that is more costly than, say, for example, package 3, because that includes everything in package 3 and package 2, and it also includes weekly lessons, so that's 39 lessons across the year as it follows an academic calendar, and they can be online or in person, but obviously with an in-person session we would need to charge travel to and from the location. So witness statements, the benefit of that is that we can collect witness statements in the session too. So in the lesson we can collect some of that evidence. We won't be able to collect everything in lessons because a lot of the outcomes are to do with communicating with unknown people and in different community spaces. But we could collect quite a chunk of witness statements within the sessions as well. So those are the 3 packages that we offer for the City and Guilds qualification. So if you did go for the package which included online or face-to-face lessons, the lessons would look a little bit like this. So we would have introductions and opening conversations, so that's where we'd be looking to gain some evidence and some witness statements from the student. We would recap the targets from the previous week and look at any witness statements that supporting adults have gathered. We would focus on the lesson plan activities and new targets, so we would be developing, teaching and delivering those skills that students need to demonstrate within the qualification. We would share and discuss new targets for the week, and any witness statements that needed to be gathered. So for example, if there is a couple of outcomes left for Unit 1, then we might be talking to the student about we need to collect evidence on this particular skill and giving them some ideas on how they can do that. And then at the end of the session, we do a summary and a closing conversation. And again, it's another opportunity to gather as much evidence as possible, particularly for Unit 1, which is around conversation skills. So there's achievement and progression within the courses themselves. So if you, for example, are on entry level 2, you can gain recognition at different points during the qualification for the skills that you have demonstrated. So the student is awarded an award after completing part of the qualification, and you can see on the screen there that that's the mandatory unit, the conversation skills, so Unit 1, plus 2 credits from other optional units. So that can be any other of the optional units from a Unit 2 to Unit 6. They can then move on to gain a certificate, which is the mandatory unit, plus 10 credits from other optional units. And this builds on the award. So if, for example, a student has completed Unit 1 and Unit 5 to gain the award, they could then just top up with credits from other optional units to gain their certificate. And then, of course, completion is when all outcomes from all units are complete across the qualification at that level. So certificates are issued, paper certificates are issued to students when the student's evidence has been checked by the assessor and also internally verified. The paper certificates come directly from City and Guilds. They come to us and then we post them on. There's usually a little bit of a delay because the City and Guilds certificates are only released once a month. But they usually detail completion of specific units. So a student might complete Unit 1 and Unit 5 to get an award, and they would get certificates for completion of Unit 1 and Unit 5. And the certificates have proven to be quite popular. They encourage our students to keep going, especially when there is a big unit, Unit 1, to complete before they can get an award. So that takes quite some time. So it's quite motivational to get a certificate after completing that unit in particular. It also shows their commitment to learning something new as well. So what other additional support can you access when you enrol with us? So we have those termly meetings, as I mentioned before. So this is where the candle assessor discusses individual students and their individual needs and barriers to learning. They could discuss different activities that could show examples of evidence for certain criteria. The meeting purpose is to support you in the delivery and assessment of the outcomes. And we can give feedback on evidence as well during that meeting, and it can be used as a time to sort of troubleshoot any problems or difficulties that the supporting adults may have or the student may have in accessing the qualification. The lesson plans and resources. There's a lesson plan for each outcome on the course that supporting adults can just pick up and deliver. Some of them include video content and links to YouTube videos, games, and there's also some PowerPoints as well. There are also some interactive lessons built within Grid 3. So if a student is using Grid 3 for their main communication method, we can provide some built-in lessons to Grid 3 that they can access also on their communication aid. The tracker, which we've had a look at already, so the Excel tracker is used to monitor progress across the qualification. It shows all the outcomes, calculates the percentage, and that's really helpful to share with students, particularly at the termly meeting, to show them how visually how well they are progressing across the qualification. We offer evidence, feedback and support. So we give regular feedback on the evidence that's submitted so that any common issues or errors are identified and support given to resolve. So for example, it might be that we're just not getting quite enough information in the witness statement to be able to assess accurately, yes or no, that student has achieved that skill. So that might be something that we would feed back to you as the person collecting the evidence. We can offer additional training on specific outcomes or for additional supporting adults. So it might be if the student goes through a transition of educational setting, during the time of the qualification, we can do an additional training session for those new adults that are supporting the student. And we've got a range of different documents which include sort of top tips and good examples of evidence, just so that you are well equipped with what we're looking for when submitting the evidence for the student. Okay, we're coming to the end of the information session now, and I've just thought it would be a good idea to answer some frequently asked questions that we've had relating to the qualification. So the first one, how is the qualification costed? So costs are annually and the student can start at any point in the year. We do work on a 39-week basis, which sort of aligns to an academic year. So the student will have access to complete the qualification for the 39 weeks. If the student completes the qualification in that time, they can either begin on the next level automatically at no additional cost until the 39 weeks are up, or they can end the qualification at that point. If the student doesn't finish the qualification in 39 weeks, they'll need to pay for the following year to continue on and complete the rest of the qualification. We might decide that actually together we're going to change the package as well. So an example would be I had a student at level 1 who in the first year had one-to-one lessons online. She completed all of the lessons for all of the outcomes but hadn't completed all of the evidence collection. So what we agreed was in the second year to move from package 1 with all of the lessons, she moved to package 3, which was assessment only. So it became cheaper for her to be able to continue on, but we're still able to continue the qualification. Another question we have had is, can students have breaks in the qualification? The answer is yes, for extenuating circumstances such as a bereavement or a long hospital stay. But we do need to be aware of it to ensure that the student is still granted the 4 years to complete the qualification. The student, once enrolled, is allowed 4 years to complete the qualification, but obviously there are annual costs for us to be able to do the assessment, the training, delivery of lessons if that's the package that you've chosen. What happens in that situation if a student has extenuating circumstances is that we would just pause the assessment or pause the lessons. The student stays on roll with us during that time and the course is still open to them. So as soon as they are feeling better or they're ready to go again, we can pick it straight back up. But there is no refund for those times. So if that is a case of sort of 4 weeks within the 39 weeks, we would need to look at what we do following the 39 weeks. Due to that. So a question we've had previously is around when the students can have lessons. So we can deliver sessions during normal school and office hours, and we'll do our absolute best to work around existing student commitments. So we might need to look at which teacher delivers that session to the student. Lessons are agreed for a specific day or time at the beginning. So at the beginning, we'll say it's Monday at 9:30. It is often difficult to move that time or to cover that time should there be a difficulty. So we do need some notice if the student isn't attending the session on one particular week for whatever reason. We usually say at least a week's notice. And that's particularly important for those staff that are travelling to deliver those sessions face to face. It might be that they're travelling an hour to deliver that session to a student. We can deliver lessons online or face to face, and those can be carried out in the student's educational setting or at their home or at another location that we can discuss. So do we provide evidence for EHCP reviews? Due to the nature of the qualification and the packages, we might only see the student for 1 hour a week at best, or for other students, particularly on package 3, we wouldn't see the student at all. We would only be assessing their evidence. So for that reason, it's not appropriate for us to attend EHCP reviews. But what we can do is provide a report on the progress made that can be submitted for the review. We would need 2 weeks' notice to provide that. But what that does is it might secure further funding for the student to continue on the qualification if needed. So how is the qualification funded? For some students, the outcomes of the qualification directly link to outcomes in their EHCP. So often the local authority or educational setting may fund the qualification for the student. So this might need to be agreed at a panel at the local authority to request the extra funding. So if you need any information regarding what the qualification is to send on for panel consideration, or you need a quote for panel consideration, please do get in touch with us. For other students, they pay privately to be enrolled on the qualification. It's important to note that we don't receive any funding from any other service, provision or charitable organisation to be able to fund students on the qualification ourselves. So we are a not-for-profit organisation, we're not a charitable organisation, so we don't have access to any other funding to support that. And do other providers offer this qualification? Yes, they do. But as it's bespoke for AAC users, there are not many centres that do offer the qualification. The centres we know of that do provide the AAC City and Guilds are colleges, and usually the qualification is only open to their current enrolled students. I believe with some of the college centres, they need to have a certain number of students doing the qualification for them to be able to offer it to others. With Candle, a student can enrol on this qualification only with us, or it might be that they're already an existing student accessing other provision, other teaching services from us, or other courses with us. So hopefully that's gone through all the information that you require for the AAC City and Guilds qualification. But if you want more information on the packages, or on the costs, or even to just get a student enrolled, please contact us on the information on the screen. There's our email address there, our website and our telephone number. Thank you.